Welcome back to the Course Creation Incubator. I'm Gina Onativia, online course coaching consultant, and as always, I'm here to get you fired up about your course creation and marketing. In this new year, I want you getting word out about your course in big ways. And one of those is to use Instagram, stories, feed posts, reels, and IGTV. I wanted to talk to a master of Insta who actually gets paid to post sometimes, my friend and colleague, Cynthia Wheeler. Cyn and I go way back as part of the Bo Eason team. We both support Bo and his wife Dawn with their content, social media, and different marketing campaigns. Now, I've admired Cyn for a while now and how she's grown her Insta account 109,000 and counting, and wanted to have her on so she can tell you and I how we can attract real fans and to help you find your own paid influencer opportunities. More on that inside of the episode. So let's go ahead and listen in. Cyn, welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you on today.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Let's start from the beginning of your Insta journey. And how did you get your start?
Yeah, I actually started out as a blogger, and I didn't really embrace any kind of social media until Instagram came along. I mean, I'm on Twitter, I was on Facebook, but I liked the visual element of Instagram when it came. And so I started just taking pictures of my runs. I live in the city of Chicago, so my feed has always just kind of been a love story of running and living in Chicago. So I used to just share that, and I didn't really think too much of it. I never shared pictures of myself. It was always city shots or lake shots. And then we had that winter where we got dumped on with snow, and it was freezing cold. So we had all of this snow, and then it froze, and then more snow, and then it froze. And the lakefront looked like, and I'm going to geek out here, it looked like that Star Wars planet where the Tauntauns lived.
You know
what I mean? Like
that Hoth? I'm totally geeking out with you.
I love that you knew that, because yes, and I didn't know whether or not to say that because I do know that. So yes, you're correct. And it looked like that. And I was sharing insane pictures of snow frozen tundra bigger than me. Like I could walk out on Lake Michigan and it was completely frozen. It's never happened since. Like I wish it would happen again because it was so bizarre. But during that time, I don't even know how they found me, but the North Face found me. Okay. And they said, "We love what you're doing. Will you be a North Face ambassador?" And I'm like, yes, of course I will. So they started sending me like gear and tech and stuff to test. And they would, put it on the feed, and they would it was an amazing, I think they were new. Everybody was new. Everything was new. You know what I mean? What's an ambassador? What does an ambassador do? So that's kind of where I realized, oh, this is not just my personal running journal. Like this is a thing that people are doing,
Yeah.
So then I had another friend who was, quote, an influencer, and I didn't even know what an influencer was. And she said, "Cyn, I don't know who's talking to me on this feed. Like, who are you? Like, you never show your picture."
Okay.
And it hadn't occurred to me that there was no element of me in this. Like, if you look at my feed now, I get sick of myself because it's always, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's great. Well, there's running shots of you. There's shots of you at home. There's I think the running shots are really great, but go ahead. So you decided to incorporate yourself.
So she said, "You have to turn the camera around." And this was mortifying to me at the time. I was like, oh, hell no. There is no way I'm putting my mug out there. And it's funny, maybe I'll show you some of those old shots. They're horrifying. I tried it, and I've archived those shots because they're so bad now.
I would love to get those shots. We could put them in the show notes. We could do it before and after.
I absolutely will. I learned as I went, you know what I mean? So, And a lot of my earlier shots, my daughter was taking it with my iPhone. Like, I don't know how, I didn't have a professional photographer. I still don't have a professional photographer, but, you just kind of stumble through learning as you go what does work and what doesn't. Now, I got to say, I have nailed down the run shot now. I can get that
Absolutely,
in maybe 2 passes and it's done. But yeah, it took a lot of trial and error and a lot of seeing what did and didn't play, and, figuring out why people are looking at my feed to begin with. Like, what is it that I'm giving them?
Yeah.
But in the beginning, I had no idea what I was doing, and I just kind of stumbled through it.
Well, first of all, I know Lake Effect very well because I went to Northwestern and I remember those Chicago winters. I'll never forget them. And then 2, I love what you're saying. You just started out writing a running journal. That was really your outcome, right? And just kind of document your runs. So it started as kind of this passion project that then got noticed, and then it grew into kind of a business. Is that an accurate way to explain it?
Absolutely. I had no aspirations. I had no, I wasn't trying to turn this into something.
Right.
It became what it became, and I followed along.
Yeah. And I think there's something to be said for that, Cyn, that sometimes maybe we feel like we're trying too hard because we feel like we have to be seen, or we feel like we have to beat the algorithm or something right? And
yes, you're so right. Here's the thing, and I just said this because I've been messing about on TikTok because that's like the new fun thing to play.
Right.
But I just said this to someone because we've done to TikTok what we did to Instagram, what we did to Facebook. Everybody's like, oh, my views are down, the algorithm, all the things, and what am I doing wrong? And I said, you need to fall in love with the platform again. Mm-hmm. Why did you start here? Why are you here? So why are you on Instagram? Like, I was on Instagram because I was documenting my runs and I love taking pictures of the city of Chicago. I spent a whole piece of my Instagram taking wave shots on the lakefront. I loved when the waves would break along the side and I would get these amazing wave shots. And there was no point to my wave shots other than I enjoyed taking them. And you could tell that I enjoyed it because I would stand there and I would get the shot and I would share it and talk to people about it.
Yeah.
And I think that passion element has gotten lost somewhere in there. We're all so obsessed with engagement and algorithms. We've lost the passion a little bit.
I agree with you. And I think one thing I love about, you overall and just your feed too, is the readiness for you to just like go run despite any temperature or whatever is going on outside. You have such a love of running, and I'm a runner myself. I wish to aspire to be you someday, Cyn. But just the way you go for it and you just suit up and you're so excited. And I think that's contagious. And that's going back to the passion and your consistency. I think that's another piece that we forget as well.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I don't think I've shared it on Instagram yet, but I will. I did a TikTok about this. What's the word that would describe your running journey for 2020? Because 2020 was weird.
Oh, yeah.
Let's be clear. And it affected the fitness community in many ways. For Chicago, our mayor closed the lakefront path. So that was like,
wow,
well, I'm not going to stop running. So I guess I'm running on the sidewalk now.
Yeah.
I was jumping fences. It was crazy. But the one thing that my running was the constant. Like, I did not stop. I didn't miss a run day in 2020. And what you said about, the weather, I'm a little bit crazy because I view Mother Nature as like, she's throwing it down. And I'm like, I will take that challenge. So whatever she throws at me, I'm like, yes, I am going out.
I think people respond to that craziness, or that it's a bit of intensity too, right? And commitment and your determination. And I think there's, along with that passion, it takes a little bit of that because it makes you an outlier. Like, I think, and a role model in that, like, nothing is going to stop you from running. And I find that very inspirational.
I'm always happy to hear that because the most I'd say the most rewarding thing I get from my feed is when somebody comes along and says, you inspired me to run today.
It's great.
And I'm like, that is something. I also get the people who say I'm running vicariously through you because I'm not going out today, but I know you are. And I'm like, that's fine too, whatever it takes.
Yeah.
But I'm always going to go out there.
I love it. And you mentioned North Face. So it was kind of like an accidental influencer moment, right?
So accidental.
And now I've got to assume you've got other influencer opportunities right now. Like I see you've got the Plant Love Naturals, the Goat Fuel Energy Drink. How did these opportunities come up for you as part of your Insta journey?
Well, it's so different now. Like I've worked with Under Armour, worked with Brooks Running, and the North Face early on, and those were all, they found me, and I'll be the first to admit it. I'm like, wow, like I don't even know how that happens, and I love it when it does. You know what I mean?
Yeah, hell yeah.
But now I go out, like there are all of these platforms that you can, and you don't have to have a massive following.
Okay.
You just have to have good content and a passion for what you're talking about. But there's all of these third-party apps that you can join. And those two that you just mentioned, Goat Fuel and Plant Love, those both came from a group called #Paid.
Okay.
I can list a bunch of them. There's Aspire IQ, there's Sway Group, there's Cooley, there's Obviously, Open Influence. And I encourage anyone who wants to be an influencer, who wants to do sponsored content, join them all.
Great.
Get in there, put your name in, put your feeds in, whatever you're on, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, your platform, YouTube. Get it all in there and start applying for campaigns. And the other thing is, and this is something that is my, I don't really do resolutions, but it's something that I have tried to commit myself to this year. I think it's really smart to set up a media kit and to go out and approach the brands that you are passionate about. Tell them what working with you would look like for them. Like that's the next step for me. And I know a lot of people have been very successful with that, but those are two things that you can do actively to get yourself out in the space.
Okay, I love that. We will list all of those names and those websites inside the show
I can
notes.
give you the links to all of them.
Okay, perfect. And then I love the media kit idea, especially for course creators, that I'm encouraging them a lot of times, Cyn, to go out and find other sources of revenue, especially as we're starting out. We're building our courses, cash flow might be a little slow to start at first. I love this idea of getting this other cash flow going and generating other revenue as being a paid influencer. I think that's an awesome idea for every course creator out there.
Oh, absolutely. This became a side hustle, and it's a great side hustle. It's not my sole source of income, and it's something that has changed quite a bit in the past year, as everything did. Like 2020 hit everything. And so it was pretty hard in the middle there to get influencer gigs because businesses didn't know how to market. You know what I mean? Like the running path is closed. What does this girl do? You know what I mean?
Right.
You don't want to show someone breaking the rules or,
So,
but I think it's back on the upswing now. I think brands have figured out how to play in the space again. And I also think that people have realized that digital is where everyone is living. So it's more important now than ever to be in the digital space.
Okay, I love that. And I do have a question about your feed and how you mix it up. Like, how do you know what the right mix is between, you got your running shots, you got home shots, like you get your hair done, like Cyn has beautiful things that she does to her hair. Like I'll let you check it out on her feed. How do you decide how to mix it up?
Well, there's a few things. It's important to vary your content.
Definitely.
For Instagram specific, it is very important to try. And I am trying. I am not perfect at this.
Okay.
One of my potholes is I need to use IGTV more because I don't use that one as much. I have been using Reels. I do use stories. I do use the feed. I use videos in the feed. I post the Reels to the feed. You know what I mean? Like,
yes,
so
mix it up.
when you're varying your content, that kind of helps me. When I'm varying my content, it helps me to know what I'm going to post. And the other thing I do is I know I'm going to post a story every day. Like you have to use stories, just one story a day. If you can commit to that, that's fantastic. But then if you've got your story, can you save that maybe a week down the road? Can that be a feed post? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that
Repurpose.
short video, repurpose, all about it. So for me, it's like, I look at my feed, I think about how I'm batching my content on the weekend. I try not to hammer too much. I try not to do 2 sponsored posts in a row. I try not to do 2 run posts in a row. I try not to do too many static posts in a row. Like, I try to just vary it up, and that helps me get my cadence down.
And how far in advance do you plan out?
I'm not good.
Yeah,
I plan out. The only reason I'm not good is because it's a side hustle and I have a full-time job. So it's I need to really nail down what I want to do. Is my goal this year is to post 3 feed posts a week.
Okay.
Is to post 1 story a day, 2 to 4 reels a week. And if I could get 1 IGTV a week, I would high five myself.
Yeah.
But I'll probably be able to do 1 IGTV a month. That's reality.
So do you recommend that for the course creators listening? I would say posting stories every day. And you said 3 feed posts a week. And then a reel, would you say once or twice a week? Right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And then get that IGTV in once a month. And I do want to give Dejani a shout out. She's my content and social media director. And poor Dejani every week is like, can you get this photo for me? Can we get this going? And asking me for content. But she plans out a month at a time, and she really tries to keep me on track.
That is fantastic if you can do that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the goal, quite frankly.
Right.
My problem is that I just, for myself, it's like the shoemaker's children have no shoes.
Oh, absolutely. I hear you. Yes.
Yeah. So, while I love to plan out content in advance, I'm usually the last person in the line to get that list going.
Yeah, well, you would never know it from your feed too. So
thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So you're already giving me some tips and some our course creators here, Cyn, about like the posting schedule. Do you have other tips for course creators looking to go beyond like followers, right? And really building an audience? Because I'd rather have an audience of qualified folks that are really interested in what I have to say versus just a ton of followers, right? So how do we get a real audience? How do we build that?
That's you have to understand that you're not yelling into the void.
Okay.
You have to respond to every comment. You have to go out, and I feel like I'm just giving you a checklist, but I mean, it's been a journey for me to figure this out. Like, I go through hashtags. Gary Vee talks about this a lot. What's he call it? I can't remember what he calls it, but it's true. And it's got to do with, you go out and it's like a comment, a like, whatever you can do, even a follow, that you're dropping your business card with people who don't know you yet. But you want to be sure you're dropping your business card with people you want to know you. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, figure out, first off, what's your niche? I mean, I'm assuming people in your course creator group know what their niche is and know what they're marketing.
And we talk about that a lot too. And just going after the swimming pool and not the ocean. That's a Seth Godin-ism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly what I'm saying. It's like, okay, so now that you know your audience, then you hashtags are more important on Instagram now than they've ever been. And the biggest mistake I see people making with hashtags is they'll identify their 15, their 20 hashtags, and they'll just dump that in on every post.
Right.
You need to vary your hashtags. You need to, and the other thing you need to do that a lot of people don't know is dump those hashtags in your stories. You can shrink them really small. So you can dump that 20 hashtag list of what, you put in your notes app, make like 5 different slugs of hashtags that you want to use, depending on what you're talking about, what piece of your content pillar you're talking about that day. But grab those, dump them into your story, and then you can either shrink them down, you can change the color of them to match a background or something, you can put them under a sticker, whatever it takes. But that will get you more reach if you're hashtagging your stories as well. A lot of people don't do that. But varying your content, it just helps your content do better. If you just keep dumping the same hashtags in, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. So hashtag research is super important.
Okay, that's great. And leads me to my next question. You've already mentioned one of these, but some mistakes that you see all the time. So we're not using enough hashtags. We're not varying enough hashtags. So like, do you see entrepreneurs making other mistakes that just kind of make you cringe?
I would say people make this mistake a lot, and that is that they don't think out their bio. Like, what you got to hit them in your bio. Like, who are you? What do you do? Like, I'm a runner with a passion for the city of Chicago, or I'm who are you and what do you do? Okay. Like, so your niche, what do they need? What is their problem and how do you solve it? Put that in your bio. You know what I mean? Okay. It's like your elevator pitch.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people forget that. And this is my theory. I don't know if it's proven. I don't know if other marketers say it, but I would always rather see a face in a photo, in an avatar than a logo. I see people putting their logo as their avatar, and it comes back to who am I talking to?
Yeah. Yeah. People want to see faces. I agree.
Exactly. Who am I talking to? So, if you can put your face out there as your avatar, because that's who they're talking to.
Okay. I love that. And I don't want to be conscious of our time here, Cyn, and I do want to talk about, I talked about in the intro that you and I work together because we support the amazing Bo Eason. Yes. And you mentioned this isn't your full-time job. This is a side hustle, right? So how do you make time for that when you are doing social media consulting and other things? I know you're a designer as well. You've got a lot of things going on. How do you make time to post?
I have to, I literally make a list. If I get it on my list that I'm going to post today, then I will put that check mark next to it. But it's just a matter of, you have to make it a priority. Yeah. I know there's a lot of other things. Everyone has a lot of things. Everyone's wearing many hats these days. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
But I have worked very hard for this feed, and I don't want it to die because I don't water it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I have to do. It's just like my running. Like, I don't always want to go out when it's 10 degrees, but it matters. So I will.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think what you're saying about you've built this, you've worked so hard for it. You've worked hard for your running. You worked hard for building up these platforms, and just having that commitment to it, I think is part of it. And you're right. Like, we're busier than ever. So like course creators, especially, we're trying to get our courses done. We're trying to market, we're trying to do our social, do our nurture emails. And there's so much to get done. But if you do want to build something, you have to be committed to it, right? And you have to be consistent with it. So I think I really appreciate that. And I do want folks to check out your feed. So I will post your handle, obviously, in the show notes. Where else can we keep in touch with you and learn from you?
I honestly, I would say the Instagram feed. I have a website, but that's just for my web design. It doesn't talk so much about my social media, but Instagram is my weapon of choice. I also have been playing a lot on TikTok.
Well, make sure to check out Cyn on Instagram or TikTok and check out how she uses her posts in such a smart way. Thanks again for being on, Cyn. I love how Cyn talked about falling back in love with Instagram or whatever platform you're currently working on, and how she started off as a passion project about her running and her love for Chicago. So think about that and how you can create Instagram posts as a passion project, as a mission of yours. And remember what Cyn said, you don't want to yell into the void You want to put out meaningful content consistently. 1 story every day, 3 feed posts a week, a few reels, 1 IGTV a month. I'm committed to this and would love for you to commit to it as well. And remember how I said I want you getting the word out about your course in a big way this year? Next week, you and I are going to be talking about just that and how to set up thoughtful campaigns to generate some serious cash flow for your course creation business. I'll see you next week. Please rate and review this episode, especially if you're listening on iTunes, and then subscribe. I would love to get the word out about this podcast so you and I can help out our course creator community. Until next week, go create, be you and be brilliant, and get it done.